I'm actually talking about two kinds of tips in this video. I'm going to share 13 plus AirPods Pro tips, like new settings in iOS 26 to keep audio in your headphones even when you get in the car, pause music when falling asleep. What do all those settings mean, like adaptive audio, personalized volume, and conversation awareness? How to answer or decline a call just by nodding or shaking your head? And of course, you know I have to throw a shortcut in there. But the other kind of tip are the new Comply Foam ear tips. I've been testing them out for about a week, and we'll get into how they compare to Apple's new tips that came with AirPods Pro 3. And just so you know, Comply sent me these ear tips early because they're only up for pre-order right now, but this video is not sponsored. They didn't give me any money. One of the first changes is there's now optimized charging limit for AirPods Pro 3, so they'll stop charging at 80%. If you want them to charge to 100% every time, you'll need to tap this notification when you first open the case by your iPhone. Or if you want to make sure they charge to 100% every time so you don't have to mess with that notification, go to the Settings app, go to your AirPods Pro 3 settings, and then scroll down until you see Battery. Go into your battery settings, and then if you want them to go to 100% every time, toggle Optimized Charging Limit off. You can choose to turn off till tomorrow, maybe if you're traveling, or turn off permanently. Then your AirPods Pro 3 or 2 will charge to 100% every time. Also, I would toggle on charging notifications. This will let you know when you need to charge your AirPods or the case, and I have found due to the different case size for AirPods Pro 3, I have to charge the case more often, so those notifications are helpful. All right, one of my favorite new AirPods features is in iOS 26, and you can actually keep audio playing in your headphones even when you connect to something like your car Bluetooth. For this setting, you actually go to Settings and then General, then go down to AirPlay and Continuity. Here, you'll see this option. Toggle that on, and now if you have AirPods playing, even when you get in your car and your phone connects to your car Bluetooth, that audio will still keep playing in your AirPods. If you have Bluetooth devices around your house you find your phone connecting them to and stealing your audio, that setting will help them stay in your AirPods. Next, there's a new setting in iOS 26 that will pause the music if you fall asleep while wearing your AirPods Pro. Again, scroll all the way down and you'll see pause music when falling asleep. Toggle that on, and now you won't have to worry about missing the entire rest of that podcast episode if you fall asleep. And staying in the AirPods Pro settings, let's go up to Camera Remote, because here you can actually choose to take a photo or start a video recording just by clicking your AirPods Pro stem. This works for both AirPods Pro 2 and 3, but you can choose to press once for a picture or press and hold. I'm going to set it to press once, and let's test this out. Now you don't need to have both AirPods Pro in, you could just put one. Then if it's in photo mode, I can just click my AirPod once, and you'll see it's doing a countdown timer and take a picture. And if I go into video mode, I can click my AirPods once and video will start recording. And then when I'm done, I can just click it again. And I actually get a little bit of audio feedback in the AirPods Pro to let me know it's start and stop. But this next feature is actually an accessibility feature, but you can add it to the control center. It's called Live Listen. Tap and hold to edit the control center, add a control, and then search for Live Listen. That's the control right there. And once it's added to the control center, when you tap this to activate, it's actually going to take the iPhone microphone and pipe that through the AirPods Pro. So technically, you could have your iPhone in another room and you could be hearing what's going on through the iPhone microphone. This is an accessibility setting and made for if someone's hearing impaired, maybe they're at a restaurant and they want to be able to hear their significant other across the table, they can wear AirPods Pro and the significant other can talk into the iPhone microphone. It is a feature, don't be creepy. Now let's talk about the other kind of tip, which are the Comply Foam ear tips. I've used these on AirPods Pro 2 the entire time. The silicone ear tips of AirPods Pro 2 would not stay in my ear consistently. They would fall out when I was grocery shopping, if I smiled a lot, but the Comply Foam tips were always rock solid, never fell out. Now the new tips that come with AirPods Pro 3, they're still silicone on the outside, but there's a tiny bit of foam at the very tip, and that does help them stay in my ear. The AirPods Pro 3 tips do not fall out of my ear like the 2s did. But like I said in my full review, which I'll link above, I do feel a little more pressure in my ear canal with the AirPods Pro 3 tips, and they're not as comfortable as using the Comply Foam tip. Now I've bought multiple Comply Foam tips in the past. They did send me these early because the AirPods Pro 3 tips are just now up for pre-sale, but they come in two versions. This is the regular and there's also a Max. And while both kinds are foam, you'll notice there's a little different coating on the outside of the Max tip. So to give you an idea, these are the Comply Max on the left and the regulars on the right. Now they're both foam earplug style tips, so they squish down and then they'll expand to keep the AirPods Pro securely in your ear. The Max with this little coating on the outside helps it not absorb as much moisture, and Comply says it's a little more cleanable. Now I find both the Comply tips to be very comfortable, and after trying them for the week, I'm going to keep the Comply Foam tips on them. I'm using the Max ones right now. They stay in my ear securely, they still sound great, they're still great bass, again like I talked about in my review, but I feel less pressure in my ear canal with the Comply Foam tips than I do with Apple's tips. Now if you've never changed the tips on your AirPods before, It can feel like you're tugging a little hard, but Comply actually includes this little tool in the box to help you get the tips off. You can grab it with these little tweezers, pull it off, and it's that simple. Now keep in mind, this part of the AirPods Pro is a different size on the 2 versus the 3, so you can't use 2 Comply phone tips with AirPods Pro 3 and vice versa. If you want, you can always put on Apple's tips and it's just fine. And to take it off, I kind of put some angled pressure on the ear tip and it comes right off. Now, I used the non-max or regular Comply foam tips for years with my AirPods Pro 2, and they were still durable, sounded, and felt great. I found that after a year of use, it kind of got a little worn and I would buy another pair. They're about 20 or 30 bucks, so not a huge deal. But the max ones will probably last a tad longer. They didn't sponsor this video or give me any money. I've just been using Comply tips for years and I'm gonna keep using them with the AirPods Pro 3. And if you experience that extra pressure with the AirPods Pro 3 tips, I would try these. Back to the tips. We're here in the Settings app, going to AirPods Pro Settings, and live translation now works with more languages in iOS 26.1. Scroll down until you see Translation Beta and you can go into Languages, download the languages you want, and you'll now see Japanese, Portuguese, Chinese Mandarin, Korean, as well as languages that were there previously like Spanish. Now to activate live translation, you actually press and hold on both stems simultaneously. You'll hear a chime, and then it's going to translate live. I did an extended demo of this in my review as well, so you can watch it there. But you can also access that live translation feature from the Translate app on your iPhone. If you're not aware, this is built in. This is Apple's Translate app. And if you go to the bottom right tab, you'll see you can choose the other speaker's language. Let's go with Korean. You can choose your language, and then you can start live translation right here from the app. It'll prompt you to actually put the AirPods Pro in your ear, and then you'll hear a translation of what they're saying audibly in your AirPods. And if they have AirPods, you speaking in their language, but if they don't have AirPods, then the text of you speaking will be translated into their language on your iPhone screen. Next, if you like listening to ambient music or maybe need some white noise, there's actually built-in features now right here in Control Center. If we go to Edit Control Center again and go to Add Control, search for ambient music, and you'll see multiple options right here. You can choose something like productivity. It's going to add that control to Control Center. And when you press play, it's going to start that playing automatically, whether or not you have an Apple Music subscription. And if you tap the dynamic island or the now playing, you'll see it's actually going to go to Apple Music. But again, you don't need a subscription to play this ambient music built into Control Center. Next, let's talk about all the noise cancellation features in AirPods Pro. If you swipe down from Control Center and long press on the volume slider with your AirPods Pro connected, you'll see a lot of options down here. For conversation awareness, you can go to transparency, noise cancellation, or adaptive, and you can also turn conversation awareness on and off. Plus, you have the spatial audio option for head tracking, fixed or off. To quickly explain, noise cancellation shuts out the outside world, even your own voice, unless it starts hearing conversation. More on that in a second. Transparency is like pass-through, lets you hear the world around you, and adaptive will go back and forth. It will noise cancel when it can, but when it detects someone speaking, either you're speaking to someone else or someone speaking to you, it'll go into transparency. You'll see it keep switching to transparency as I'm talking because it detects me talking. Now, if you don't want it to do that, conversation awareness in the middle, I can turn that off. And now when I go to adaptive audio, it's not going to go to transparency even though I'm still talking. So if you don't like that conversation awareness and it changing back and forth when people talk around you, especially in like an office situation that might go off a lot, turn off that conversation awareness. And finally, spatial audio that tries to have that 3D surround sound effect depending on what you're listening to. I find when I'm listening to podcasts, it can be a little jarring because the voices go from left to right ear. So I usually like using the fixed setting for spatial audio, but if you wanted to head track it, you could try back and forth or just turn it off entirely, all here in the settings. Now there's even more settings when you go into the Settings app and then go back to AirPods Pro. You'll see the listening modes here are the same that you see in Control Center. There's also settings for deciding what listening modes you want to cycle through on each stem of the AirPod. I actually like putting transparency and noise canceling on one AirPod and then choosing just one listening mode like adaptive on the right AirPod. This way I know if I want adaptive, I can tap and hold on the right stem, and if I want transparency or noise canceling, I'll tap on the left. You can also choose to have the voice assistant activated by one stem left or right or the other. Now one of the newer settings, which is in iOS 26, is called personalized volume. If it detects loud noise around you like construction noise or traffic, it will raise the volume automatically and then lower that volume when you get back to a quiet environment. If you find that is a little too sensitive, you might want to turn that off, But it's a nice feature, especially if you're walking down the street and you want to be able to hear the podcast like Primary Technology. That's my tech podcast I do every week with Jason Aiton, by the way. Subscribe above here on YouTube or listen wherever you get your podcasts. Now, you have the conversation awareness. You can toggle on or off in the settings as well. And if you go into adaptive audio, you'll actually see a slider for how sensitive it is or how much it's going to adjust depending on your environment. If you find it too sensitive, drag the slider to the left and it will change less often. Or if you want more sensitivity, drag it to the right. Next, you can answer or decline calls just by shaking your head. If you scroll down in your AirPods Pro settings, go to the head gestures, and you can turn these on. To accept or reply to a message, you can even reply to text messages just by speaking, but accept, I do a nod, which is like saying yes, and to decline, you shake your head side to side. I also just figured out that if you want to be able to do the head gestures, you also need to have announce notifications on. So I'm going to turn on announce notifications here. I'll allow Siri even when my iPhone is locked. And you can also choose whether you want it to appear in CarPlay, whether you want new messages to be announced, or keep those silent. Now that I have those toggled on, now when I get another call, if I want to say yes and accept the call, and when I shake my head, it answered the call automatically. All right, 2 more tips. If you want to keep a close eye on your AirPods Pro batteries, even the individual AirPods, you can add the battery widget both to your home screen or your lock screen. I'm going to put it here on the lock screen. I'll add a widget, scroll down till you see the battery widgets here, and then I'm going to choose the individual device battery widget. Now I'm actually going to add 3. Now when I'm still in this edit mode, after I've added the widgets, I can tap on a widget, toggle off automatic, because then it's just going to show whatever device it wants basically. And now I can choose the AirPods Pro 3 case as that middle widget. And if I tap the left widget, I'll turn off automatic, tap devices, and here I'll choose the AirPods Pro 3, meaning just the individual buds, not the case. And if you want to just see all the batteries all the time, you can have that third widget be your phone, your Apple Watch. I'll do the watch because battery percentage off on iPhone always. And now you get a quick glance at all your accessories connected to your iPhone right here on the lock screen. Now, personally, that's too much battery stress for me. I don't like putting it on the lock screen or even the home screen. So instead, I put my battery widget here in the Today view. As you can see, this is also where I keep all my shortcuts. I keep my food knobs widget to quickly log things. But down here, you also see the 4 device widget. And if I ever want to check the battery percentage, that's where I do it. And final tip, yes, a shortcut. So there's actually a shortcuts action to adjust the noise setting, like noise cancellation or transparency. Just search for noise, and then you'll see set noise control mode. Tap there and you can then choose your device like AirPods Pro 3, and you can choose off, noise cancellation, transparency, or adaptive. Now, the quickest way to do this is holding the stems or using the control center, but because there's an action, you can automate this. So for instance, maybe you always want when you arrive home and your phone connects to your home Wi-Fi, that transparency mode gets turned on. So, you could hear your family. Well, to do that, I can go to the Automations tab in Shortcuts. I'll scroll down to where it says Wi-Fi. And then when a Wi-Fi network is joined, I'll choose my home Wi-Fi network, Minas Tirith. Then when I say that Wi-Fi network is joined, I want this to run even after an interruption, and I want this to run immediately. I can just tap Next, create a new blank automation, search for that set noise control mode. Again, choose your device, AirPods Pro 3. The device needs to be connected to your phone in order for it to appear in that menu. Then choose transparency. And now whenever you connect to your home Wi-Fi, transparency mode will activate automatically. So those are my AirPods Pro tips, and get subscribed and hit that like button. Lots of tip videos on iPhone, iPad already on the channel and more coming soon. And if you want to see the new features that came out with iOS 26.1, I'll put my video on that right up here. Or if you want to learn more about shortcuts, I do a ton of them here on the channel. I'll put one of those videos here. You can also join my shortcuts community. Go to shortcut.bot. You can join for free. Over 2,000 people are there sharing shortcuts, helping others. And you can also support the channel and the community there. And you get access to my shortcut of the week, weekly live streams just for paying members, and a ton more. Those links are also down in the description with the complied tips. And thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time.